My camera is now literally only held together by 4 pieces of duct tape. Really hope that doesn't break down on me. I think I've like secured it decently, reinforced on both sides. No, all the little screws are falling out, and I've really used this camera for like 4 years, but that's like nothing. I mean, for something that requires such like rich earth materials, it's disappointing with a capital D that it hasn't been hardier, but I have been pretty like rough with it. Anyway, hopefully that doesn't impact Vlogmas. I'll rethink that and try to find some sort of camera repair situation in the new year. I thought I would talk about 3 things which are kind of interconnected. One of you floated like a gift guide type thing, and that kind of got me thinking about purchases I've made this year which have been like top quality investments, and then it also got me thinking on like healthy habits I've started this year. I've been very reflecty, quite like low self-esteemy, honestly, with, as I was mentioning in the last video, like the consumeristy side of Christmas and not feeling overjoyed to be partaking in that. I mean, I think it's very normal in your 20s to like feel unsure of if you're at the right space, like if you're adulting enough, ticking like traditional boxes enough, seeing some of your peers that you went to school with do completely different stuff, maybe have full-time jobs. It can be quite the and no, I'm riding through it. I think I'm on the other side of the low self-esteemy pit I was in late November, early December. But I did sort of make some intentions, I think, at the start of this year. Not that you need a new year to do that, obviously, but one of them was to wear sunscreen every day, and I sure have, honeys. Not every day. I've changed up my room and made it more me. We're nearly there. That's been something I've wanted to do forever. I've made 3 super close, beautiful friends this year, which has sort of happened, and it wasn't like they're completely new people that come into my life, never met them before, but that's just blossomed and happened beautifully over this year. I've been vacuuming up audiobooks, which I've always wanted to be someone who reads more, and ever jading in the era that is, audiobooks have really helped me to keep that desire alive. So I am just really glad that I've got through like 70-80 books this year, which I have talked in depth on Patreon if you're like, huh? I've worn more vests this year, which I'm very happy about. Just that relates to, I think, my style like evolving a little bit. Going on like much longer walks on the daily because of Merlin, which I think has like lifted my base fitness a bit. Lol. Like I don't really do yoga as much. I just do like a bit of a stretch to iron out the creaks in the morning. But like an hour and a half walk most mornings has happened, which really is just proof that if you just do something enough, like if I was just walking by myself for an hour and a half, that would seem a bit, but with a doggo and an audiobook in my ears, it goes by really quick, and I really look forward to it. And maybe the biggest one, started seeing a psychologist, someone I really like, even though it's been the sort of hardest year, even feels harder than last year. I'm so glad I'm acting less from an unconscious place, even if you're uncovering uncomfortable things, and even if you're shining a spotlight on stuff you'd rather like pack away. It just helps to like get started on working through them. And honestly, just having someone who you can talk to on the reg, but also be there when life shows up, like actual craptastic stuff, like, or things you really, really want to talk about, or positive things, or just growth things or firsts or whatever that you really, really want to talk about. It's been the best thing. And then I was thinking of like quality purchases I've made, which I guess sort of bleeds into this loose gift guide I've made. The first would have to be this weighted blanket. A friend had recommended hers, and I was like testing one out at the family I nanny, and then my psych was like, you might enjoy that. I was like, yeah. They're really expensive though. But then I found this one, it was 40% off. It's not the most soft or anything. It's very much a layer piece, which I hide under quilts because it's just a grey situation. Best investment. But it's a bit interesting coming into warmer weather because it's not very breathable, and I am like broiling under there. I don't think it'll be such a summer situation, but when it's cool enough, or you just want like a heavy weight on you, infinitely better sleep, less restlessness. Not that I've always slept quite well. It's so worth the hype. Then this is a weird one, but peanut butter protein powder. Don't really want to name the name because it's such a lol. Like Macro Mike. Actually, you might remember I contacted them. They sent me a bunch of their stuff, and do not love their pudding things or really much other than just the protein powder, which is made out of peanuts, which is like a very delicious nut milk. except it's creamier because it's more peanutty. Did you know that protein powder doesn't have to be furry and pea-based? Or, I mean, pea-based is still fine and there's still lots of great delicious ones, but yeah, if you're someone that has like gut problems or something, I'm not really talking about this from a fitness perspective, although you do you, and like no shame on people who enjoy protein powders. They are a really handy thing to have in your pantry when you're just having a bad like system day or nausea, bloating, whatever day, and you need something to fill you up. You feel sad at the prospect of eating or even like having a snack because you know, I don't know, there's just few options and you're in a pickle. It's a really good like safety net type thing to have. And who knew that it could be so delicious? And chocolatey, peanutty protein powder is, I think, hecko's heavenly. So yeah, I just want to say, if you're related to me or know me in real life and you're not my demographic, or you're younger than, I don't know, 18, stop watching this bit of me talking. Just zoom ahead because, I don't know, you just don't need to listen, okay? Or listen at your own risk and then don't judge me. But if you get uncomfortable, that's on you. You've been warned. Another quality purchase, which I actually got as a freebie, is a quality knife that is the best knife I've ever owned. It really just makes chopping up vegetables, cooking, so much more enjoyable, less effortful. I'm someone who gets really frustrated at having to chop up like a big Jap or Kent pumpkin. It's not something I love, although now I just stick my knife in and then bang the whole thing, pumpkin attached to knife, on the bench, and that works. And this knife I got when I was ordering some kitchen stuff. It was a freebie thing, but I am very grateful because it's been like the best kitchen tool I've used all year. It's so easy to chop things. There shouldn't be much resistance. And also chopping cakes or anything cleanly is so much easier with a very large sharp knife. Another thing I ordered when I was ordering a few kitchen things is a pastry cutter, which less so for like working butter into flour because that's quite enjoyable, I find. It's so handy for mashing up tofu for tofu scramble, yet not in a food processory machine-like way where it looks really sad and like it's obviously been chopped up by a piece of industrial equipment. If you mash up tofu with a pastry cutter, which works better than a masher because the pieces of metal are very sharp, you still can get like a few big chunks and small chunks and it looks like you've done it with your hands, except you don't have to make contact with wet, ultra cold tofu, which is fine in warm weather, but in winter, I don't know about you, if you have like shitty circulation, then it can be a really miserable, uncomfortable experience. While I hate to say Merlin was a purchase, we'll just name drop him because 90% of all the joy in this year, as well as 90% of all the frustration, 90% of all the joy is due to him. And then the other quality purchase I thought I'd mention is taking a sewing class at the start of the year, which is at this sort of recycled studio where you make things out of reclaimed fabrics and stuff. I made that blue pajama set that I've worn like all year. It feels so me, and that's like the best, most rewarding, most me thing. And when we can in COVID times, I will be doing another sewing class, and I think that the next thing I want to make is a pair of like patchworky trousers, maybe corduroy or something. And then in terms of like a gift guide, I don't have a whole bunch of things, but maybe one of these might be applicable to you or someone in your life you're trying to think of a gift for. The first one is a pillow from, I mean, there's a lot of similar makers like this at the moment, but like Clumsy Cush or Cush Coma. And you might think that seems like a non-present. Why would you get someone a random shaped stuffed bit of fabric? But that's where you're wrong. There is a very particular type of comfort that one gets from hugging a soft, squiggly, abstractly shaped, that's important, squishy object, which you probably might not fully realize until you have one in your hands. I think because it's an abstract object, there just removes any shame from hugging it, like you might get from something with a face, and instead you just experience the feeling. I mean, they're very cute for like your bed, a chair, a couch, but they're also very nice to wrap your arms around when you're sleeping. I have 2 food memoir recommendations which aren't boring at all. They're extremely readable and digestible and very entertaining and have lots of recipes in them. It's Taste by Stanley Tucci and Midnight Chicken by Ella Risbridger. Yeah, and it's for the foodie friend, I guess, who makes something when they're sad, someone who gets a lot of joy from making something delicious in the kitchen. Then I think an indoor plant is very underrated, especially, I'm sure we all realise this now, but in the era that is, giving someone something to look after is a really kind thing to do, because it's so good for your mental health to care for something else that is living. Also, they make your space so much better. And if you don't have one, which was me a while ago, however, now I have quite a few, because I thought I didn't have enough light, but so far so good. I think one actually is finding a bit too bright. You might think of like Pinteresty, Instagrammy houses flooded with indoor plants. Go, that's such an aesthetic. But aesthetics aside, and actually having something in your possession to look after and see grow is a very beautiful feeling. So I don't think that's cliche at all. I think it's a really generous, thoughtful gift. I'll just quickly plug my calendar because they're still available, and I think very appropriate for people who are vegan, gluten-free, animal lovers, nature lovers, people who like to be organised. There's a lot of categories that they are appropriate for. Obviously, food's a bit like, oh, there's so much food around this time of year. Maybe you don't want to voice something on people. That's why I'm only going to mention one thing that is super quality and holy moly so good. It's the Panna chocolate truffles they've brought out, which are essentially vegan milk chocolate Lindt balls. And yeah, if you have someone who's gluten-free as well, because Lindt have brought out non-dairy Lindt balls, but they're made with oat milk, so your friend has probably not had a Lindt ball in a long time, and silky smooth chocolate that melts in your mouth is just, ooh, a little bit of mochi. I think a massage, obviously it depends what COVID's like in your area and whether that would be a stressful thing to like be in such close proximity to a stranger in wherever you are, but I think a lot of us are touch starved, and getting a massage is like a lovely thing, but it can also be very awkward, so it's nice to just like give someone that and sort of just push them to go do it in the name of self-care. Then I think getting a friend a sex toy is a terrific idea. Like, surely we're beyond the point of feeling self-conscious about this. Obviously there's like quite a price range. Obviously go through like a feminist, sex positive place in your area, but if you want to know that there are some that aren't like ludicrously expensive, although these are investments, so I don't know, maybe split it with a friend for someone. Spectrum Boutique have ones that are very affordable and like pretty much the full spectrum of anything you could be after. Yeah, I think it's empowering and very flattering and very validating to receive that. And also if you give your friend that, it'll probably open up new conversations with them, which if you haven't had before, you'll be very glad you had. Always a good idea. Then for the friend who might be going through a hard time, there's a really beautiful deck of cards called The Grief Companion that's come out by a local Melbourne artist. And it's like prompts and reflections to help them through their grieving process. And I think that's a very supportive, nurturing, but like empowering, because it's like at your own pace. I'm here for you, but in a non-pushy way, like gift to give someone. Also the deck's really, really cute, and I think it would be a conversation starter if the friend like had it in their space, and a positive conversation starter. You know, it is really nice to receive like a self-care thing, like a hair or body, but moving away from Lush to a more like local, ethical, less overwhelmingly fragrancy brand. I was ordering a new shampoo bar from Ethique, which a friend really recommended, and it surprised me because they have lots of like moisturizing bars, cleansing bars. This is all in the name of like low waste, not in bottles type route, and they all look really beautiful and very affordable for how long they would last. So obviously there are so many brands, but they are based in New Zealand, and yeah, it really surprised me when I was looking through their stuff, and they're super transparent about their values and process and ingredients. So yes. This might be a weird thing to mention, but I bought this bikini off Etsy at the start of the year, I think, and it's a like vintage Soviet era handmade one. It's really cute, but it was really big. Like these were like out to here, and this needed taking in. Anyway, I finally, with things being open, took it to this really lovely tailor for $20. It should now fit, and I'm gonna try it on. I really, really, really love them. They're not super duper like figure hugging. They're almost like a bit loose, but it actually really suits the style of them, because if you think back, well, 20th century, that's a long period of time, but like bathing costumes for women, they were a bit like more fabric-y, not so gripping to the flesh. I don't know, they're just very flattering. I love, she's so me. Although, yeah, definitely wouldn't wear in like some high movement situations. Apologies with how mood with a capital M the lighting is. I'm still trying to figure out where to place this clip-on light, because it's really bright, the bulb, and I switched it to a warm white, hence we got the yellow glow. Happy about that, but it's really uncomfortable to catch with your eyeballs. Yeah, maybe I try to get like a mini teeny bulb so it doesn't protrude, or I don't know, I'm still figuring out what to do with that. Dinner was delish. I made like a kind of a Christmassy spread with all the fixings, and I am stuffed. I'm so happy with the cake I made today. I've played around with that cake for so long, and it finally has like a really nice, proper, indistinguishable, moist crumb like a carrot cake should, and I'll be sharing that recipe along with hopefully a few others before Christmas. Yeah, it's interesting. Ever since just like eclipsing the finish line of this But Vegan series, my inspiration to cook and like motivation and interest blossomed. Very excited to try all those rice flour and whole grain rice breads that I was watching today. I've been meaning to for ages, but I just sort of haven't had the mind space to like properly listen and digest. I think it could be the route for me, and all these recipe ideas that I've had in the past have come flooding back. So yay for inspiration and your creative spark returning. The cycle of life, hey? I was just scrolling through Instagram before, and this thread came up by someone I follow and I like, but haven't watched a lot of their videos a lot in the last few years. And this sort of therapist-y quote thread was saying the issue with negative thinking has its root in spending too much time focusing on the self, and the solution will be spending less time on the self. And that sent me into a bit of a anyway, I felt like it was very reductionist and not quite a full point. Like, what do you think? Because there's so many prongs to this. There's like religious, Christian, community service, think of others before yourself. That's the sort of the key to happiness, doing a thing for others. Then there's obviously anyone who's been to like therapy will be like, well, you've got to fill your cup before you can fill others, and acting from an unconscious place isn't so great. And working on yourself and addressing perhaps negative self-talk, negative self, can help you be less negative in the long term and not just ignoring it and shoving it away. But I do sympathize with what they're saying, but I don't really think I agree. But then, like I was saying in the last video, like individualism, like spending too much time in it on our own, like on our own paths, and not like letting people in and being like social beings, isn't great. But then I feel like it's also a generational throwing shade thing here of like young people are obsessed with social media, obsessed with their own image, spend too much time in their heads thinking they're like too self-important, and therefore when they have negative thoughts they're thinking they're too important, and it's all like a rumination thing, and that's what's causing these spirals and mental health things. When like maybe younger generation have less stigma around mental health stuff, and so they're able to like feel their feelings and not shut them away and gaslight themselves and just pretend they're not happening. So yeah, anyway, I don't think it's a black and white thing, but yeah, would be interested to hear your thoughts, because that one sends me on a bit of a brainstormy thought spiral on that one. I will see you in the next one. I hope you're enjoying them. Thank you for engaging. I will see you super soon, and I hope your December has got off to a good start. A kind, gentle start in some moments, if nothing else. Okay, bye.